dangerous.
Bad feeling about this.
You don't seem to understand something.
The thing that I like most about being a dad is that I see that I'm about to impact the world. What's up? It's your boy Humble Dad back with another edition of Humble Dad Podcast. Got a great show for you this evening. We're going to be talking about, do men want traditional or control, considering what it's been like in these 2025s and before that, right? That the conversation has gotten pretty heavy around marriage and relationships and what men want, what women want. And, we're going to talk about it. So I wonder, when men say that they want a traditional woman, what does that really mean? And we'll talk about that. Are we talking about love, respect, and partnership, or is it just another way to demand control? And then for the ladies, are traditional values outdated, or do they still hold weight in today's world? I wonder, because let's be real, right? Let's think about this. The rules of the game have changed, and women are currently making more money, building careers, and defining their own path. So where does that leave relationships? Now, I'm gonna ask the panel, and we'll talk about it. Can traditional and modern independence exist together, or are we just stuck in a never-ending battle of expectations? So we're gonna get into it. So the first question that we're gonna get with to know a little bit about the people is, what you consider yourself more traditional or modern when it comes to relationships, and why? And those that are coming in, make sure you like, share, subscribe to the channel, and send this to people that you believe that will be interested in it. And we're going to start with none other than Prototype in the building.
What's happening?
What's good, bro?
Gotta get these cups together.
Bro, I be trying to, bro.
Yeah, no biggie. But I can't necessarily say from either or. It depends on the situation. Like, I would be traditional or I would be modern. They both could work in my favor. You just gotta know how to do both. You know what I'm saying? Like traditional, you gotta understand that I know most women want a traditional guy. You know what I'm saying? Most men, I think, want a modern situation, but we could dive into that later.
Yeah, for sure. All right, I appreciate the perspective, man. Appreciate you for being here as usual. How are you doing with the cold?
Oh, I'm straight.
Okay, that's a bit. All right, welcome to the stage. None other than Miss School herself, Ash in the building, hating everything but loving life.
Okay, whatever lies you want to tell the people. Anyway, me, you know me, I don't fit because I'm really not modern. I'm really not traditional. I just believe in gonna do this thing, do it wholeheartedly. So I don't fit either description, because I wouldn't say that I'm modern because I still value some of the old school traditions, and then some of the old school traditions I really don't like. I really don't feel like that should apply to me. So
This is going to be a really interesting conversation. Hey, and appreciate you for being here. The women got the hair did today. You know what I'm saying? And we're gonna welcome none other than Miss Taken in the building. What's up, ma'am?
Hey.
Glad you
How
made
are
it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I miss you guys. I
For
miss
sure.
sensible conversation.
Well, we appreciate it. Well, I need to try to clip that, try to put that a part of the dialogue. We have sensible conversations.
Mhm. I'm kind of like Ash, so that term is called I am a transitional person. I'm transitional. So
So
I
you
embrace
trans modern? Is that what you're saying? You trans modern?
well, it is I embrace like both aspects, right? So it's like I embrace like traditional values, but I also embrace modern practices because I do believe that like some traditional values are kind of dated in current modern society. So I don't necessarily think that those some values, some traditional things don't necessarily apply aren't as applicable to our current modern day society. So I fall in the middle because I value and embrace aspects of both traditional and modern. I think it's more of a balanced approach. Oh, uh-oh.
No, but balance is a good thing, you know. But
Wait, I
I
guess
can't wait till we dive into this more. You know what I'm saying? Because
Crazy. Like all of a sudden, my internet starts
mhm.
tripping. Did you get to answer the question?
Yeah.
yeah, she
Okay,
So
bet.
that's the term I think Ash may be talking about is that she has more of a balanced approach, which is called transitional.
Okay,
So
transitional.
you're
Transition
between, yeah, you're between modern and traditional.
crazy. Hey, and welcome to the stage.
that's what we need to get into though, because
We are. We're
the
gonna see.
line is they don't understand the line. And
We're about to
let's go.
figure it out. Let's see.
Come on, man.
Sahil in the building. What's going on, my guy?
HD, what's going on, sir? How are you? It's good to see everybody tonight. I'm glad to be here. So I read the question, and of course, I myself am definitely traditional. I say this unapologetically. I believe in taking on most of the responsibilities and the burden of leading a family and providing, while still making room for my wife to be great in her role as well, and not placing restrictions on how great she can be. So, in essence, I am traditional.
That's what's up. Hey, I appreciate you for being here, man. I really do. Um, I'm interested in seeing how you all of y'all provide context to what these questions are going to be. And for me, I would say that I'm traditional, especially, but right, because of my biblical perspective and outlook on things. And I would say that most people don't understand what Proverbs 31 woman is. And so we'll break that down, hopefully, and get into that. But I would say I am in the aspect of being traditional, I guess, when we get to the question. Um, what I believe is that it's more of a mindset that's revolved around or centered around some key elements of what a man should be doing. And so I'm not going to give all my thoughts away, but that's where I'm gonna start. I think it's more of a mindset as opposed to how some men and women see it today. And I don't believe that it is a dictatorship in the manner in which it is conveyed most often. So, with that being said, the first question is when men say they want a traditional woman, what do they really mean? And we're going to start with you, Prototype. When men say they want a traditional woman, what do they really mean from your perspective?
We want a woman that's not a hoe. um, to sum it all up, man, like we just don't want nobody promiscuous, and I could really leave it there. You know what I'm saying? Men want a woman that they can call their own and really value, and it's hard to value a woman that's been kind of passed around or has been frivolous with the guy she allow access to her situation. You know what I'm saying? So when a man works so hard to be a certain kind of way, and then he gets a woman, he doesn't want her to, not have no standards. All of a sudden now you got standards. It doesn't work like that. So just not a hoe.
Okay, who you got going next?
We'll go with Ash.
What? There don't want a traditional woman. They want their traditional mama. And I mean that. I mean that with a loaded gun. Because Big Mama ain't been the same since the beginning of time, since she got broke down raising them kids. So they want the woman like their mama. And the reason why I say that is because they want to shut up, prototype. You always want to talk about somebody don't want the hoe. Why the hoes getting all the rings then? They getting more rings than the championship. Mind your business. Anyway, uh what I was saying, yeah, they want somebody like their mama to hold down the fort because depending on who you dating, Mr. Shakes over there, that's what happened. Because don't nobody really have no idea of tradition. They have what's been traditionally passed on to them. And I'm gonna go with Sir Hale.
Hey, appreciate you. Thank you so much, Ash. I'm going to have to let me take Prototype's facial expression and let me put words to it. That's not true. The whoremongers are not getting the rings. It's men across the board are similar in terms of them being territorial. No man wants any woman that is accessible by everybody. No man does. Even the worst men. Like if you look humble there, you'll appreciate this. King David was a straight up whoremonger. That man was a whore. But he looked for virgins. Ain't that messed up? So men across the board, we want the same thing. So no, I don't think that's, and the other part to this, if we're talking about 2025, most men are not asking for traditional men. Most men are not. What they're looking for is somebody who can provide investment. I'm sorry.
You said traditional. You said men are not looking for traditional men, but
men are not asking for traditional women in 2025, and there's reasons for this. Most of the traditional men we've seen, if the relationship dissolves, they get taken for everything. So men today are looking for a woman who shows equal investment, because that to most men shows that they're equally invested in the outcome of the relationship and not just in it for what they can get, particularly if it goes south. So I answer this question by saying in today's time, and particularly under 40, those men are not asking for traditional women, because from what we've seen, we don't really get a whole lot from that concept today.
So what would you, but before you transition, what when can you allude to the question or transition to the question or answer
that's what I mean. Like they're not asking for traditional women.
Okay, I follow you.
Yeah, they're not. So if they do, it is exactly what Prototype says. I don't think that we have seen enough of the generation of traditional women to say we want traditional women. Ashley said that men want their mama. Well, this new generation of men haven't had great experiences with their mama, right? So we don't see tradition. We don't have good relationship with our mother. So they're trying to create an archetype of what a woman should be by pulling in the best of traditional women, the best of modern women, and trying to blend, like Mistaken, like trying to blend and fuse the best of these two paradigms together to create the ideal woman. So they're not looking for tradition. They don't even know what that looks like or what that means.
So they couldn't even describe it.
Exactly.
Basically what you're saying.
Because they can't describe it, they're trying to create it.
That's okay. I see where you at. Yeah. What you got, Mistaken?
I beg to differ, just kind of being in these spaces. I lean more towards, again, what Ash is saying in terms of, I think what men are saying is that they want traditional treatment, but modern responsibility. So they want the woman to do the traditional things like cooking and cleaning and taking care of the kids and all of those things that were what we would call, like,
Did she get stuck?
I think
she's stuck.
Okay.
See, if she would have had traditional Wi-Fi, this wouldn't have happened, Humble Day. You see what's happening?
I let her get that fixed. That's crazy.
I mean, to go where she was going though, I think what she's hearing is men overcorrecting like men are over explaining what they want. You know what I'm saying? Because we're trying to like if we could get them just to do that stuff, then everything else might fall into place. But I think what traditional as for is right now is very simple. But now that she's back, when she comes back, I could let her finish. But men are overcorrecting in these spaces. Like that's where the MGTOW comes from. Like, well, if women don't want to be right, and we're just going to go another way. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I seen a post the other day where dude was saying, I want to marry another guy, right? But he's like, I want to marry another guy only because another heterosexual guy, and in that we could get married, had all the benefits of being married, but he could have as many women as I want, I could have as many women as I want, and we just split in the mortgage. And you could buy a boat, and I could buy a motorcycle, and we're just splitting the financial, because that's what we're thinking nowadays. That women are making money now, and now we can all be like, oh, so we're all splitting this down the middle, and we don't mind washing the dishes or helping with the kids, but women don't want to put in their money like we're putting in our money. So that's becoming the difference there. But what you got, Miss Sagan? You didn't finish what you were saying.
Okay. So yeah. So what I was trying to say, I don't know what happened. My computer just cut off. Am I choppy?
Yeah, it's lagging a little bit. And
Okay.
maybe like mine.
I'll try to get this off and then I'll reset.
Okay, no.
So like I was saying, they want traditional treatment, but modern responsibility, meaning that they don't want the responsibility of taking care of a home. They okay with going 50-50 on that regard, in terms of a woman contributing their financial part of it, or like they said, putting the same amount of skin in a game, so if something happens that they're equally burdened with the same consequences or things like that. But they still want the traditional treatment that men were expected to get, in terms of having a wife that was going to take care of everything while they still did whatever they wanted to do.
So basically, you're saying that you believe that men currently believe they don't want a traditional woman, so there's not even a description, is what you're saying.
No, I'm saying they want a traditional woman based on what they told traditional women did, in terms of
Oh, okay.
doing
They
all of the
want
cooking and
they
cleaning
want a
and taking care of
traditional
the
woman
kids.
that cooks, cleans, and takes care of the kids from that regard.
Correct.
But
Right.
there's a
Then
conflict in
on
that
the
argument,
other
though.
end, they want the modern woman who is also going to contribute to the household financially by going 50-50. So that's what I'm talking about, in terms of they want the traditional treatment but want modern responsibility.
You realize that I know where Sir Hale is about to go, though.
Go ahead.
Can I say, and then you see if you tell me if you're right, Sir Hale?
Sure, please.
Okay. So the conflict in what you just said is when you and Ash both said that you all are transitioned, and that
Transitional.
was that transitional, which was to say that you're a mixture of both. But then in
Mhm.
your argument, you're saying that men should not want what it is that you're saying that you would say that you are. Was that about what you were gonna say, Sir Hill?
I wasn't, but that was a fantastic point. That was fantastic. I didn't even extrapolate that.
Hey, go ahead.
The point that I was going to add to that is the conflict here is we're saying that men want traditional treatment. Nothing about mistaking. Now, listen, you my G. Let's let this be known. I like her perspective. So, like, I know that sometimes I come off a little bit strong. I don't mean it in any way. So please hear me. It's the conflict here is that nothing you described is directly for the man. Like a clean home, taking care of the kids, cooking. Those are things she would have to do if he wasn't there. You could outsource this by getting a maid or having somebody to come through. Traditional treatment to a man is not doing stuff you would do if he wasn't there. It's more so being attentive to him. Understand if he's stressed out and then giving him a shoulder rub, running his bath water, being relaxing, being peace, being soft spoken, taking care of his sexual needs. The list goes on. And I think that the conflict with the concept of traditionality between men and women is you always hear a woman go into mommy mode and what she got to do for the house. It is never about what she does directly for her man. Right. And so when men are describing this, you will start to hear their examples are specific about what she can precisely do that benefits him. You see what I'm saying?
I disagree, because typically when you're talking about traditional women, the first thing that men begin to talk about are roles. And specifically, those roles are typically linked to domestic roles. So that's why those are the first thing that typically come out when we're talking about that, because that's the expectation of men, and they do directly benefit from that.
So,
Yes,
so
both
if
of
for me,
us,
it's not either
if we
or,
were
it's
living
and.
independently, hold on, both of us, if we were living independently, will be taking care of those things as individuals on our own. So you would
Precisely.
be, you would be doing the cooking, you would be doing the cleaning, your own laundry, all of those things, right? But once a marriage occurs from a traditional standpoint, the expectation is that now the woman would now be taking that load off of you. So you no longer have to do any.
Precisely.
Okay,
So you're saying the
hold
same
on,
thing.
hold on. You wouldn't have to do any of the cooking and cleaning or whatever, but nothing changes for the woman
It's taken.
because she's still working her 9 to 5.
It's taken.
If we're talking about tradition, the change with that comes that there's an exchange between the lightening the load. Her load doesn't get lightened once she gets married. Her load gets added too, because now she's not only doing for herself, she's also doing for you. And then when you add kids to that, the expectation is she's going to take on majority of the child rearing as well, if we're speaking from a traditional roles.
Yeah.
And
So
any
so I
studies, y'all can, and I know, Humble Dad, you do research just like I do. If you look at any studies or anything like that, it will back this up in terms of what happens in terms of the domestic aspect of the share of that responsibility, who does it fall on the most.
mistaken. You just said you just summarized what I said. Is that when we talk about traditional, women go to the domestic. And I'm talking about men today. When we talk about traditional, is not just those things. Men get married to a woman to offset stuff we can't do. And the evidence proves that when a man is in a woman's life, she does far better. The children do better, right? Economically, they do better. This is why when they divorce, a woman typically goes into poverty and does far worse than a man does. He typically accelerates. If you go to the division of the children, the men oftentimes produce more respectable, in-shape children. It is because women's contributions are more pronounced. Men's contributions are less pronounced, but still weighty. Like we don't get a chance to see a man's contribution until the kids are older. And because what we contribute is in nurturing, we're not there kissing the baby, we're not there taking the photos. It looks like most of the responsibility falls on the woman because her contribution is more touch. Men's contribution deals with things like their emotional stability, their confidence, their sense of safety and well-being, their discipline. And these things are less pronounced until those kids become of age and they have to be more responsible for themselves. So you are correct that there are studies that show that the distribution of household duties do fall mostly on the women, but that is offset by the contribution that the men make when it comes to financial provision, safety, and that protection. And if we go down that rabbit hole, part of the reason women had to spend more time doing the domestic work is because men worked in the steel mills. So the physical exertion of energy rendered them almost unable to do as much when they got home because they had to rest up to go do that all over again. And this is why we're having the modern conversation, because we're no longer doing those laborious jobs that require that. And so this is why we can distribute. And this is why men today are not looking for the quote unquote traditional woman. So yeah, what you said, it went right in line with what I was saying.
Yeah, that's really good. I think with Go ahead, Proto. I can go after you.
To add on top of that, with a huge misconception of parenting, man, is there's times in a balance of what parents takes the load. You know what I'm saying? So in the adolescence phase, okay, the load is more on moms, but as there's a transition where dad becomes more involved and the load becomes on him. You know what I'm saying? And without that balance and without that transition, the kid suffers drastically. So that's everybody's looking at this small window of, oh, they're little, they're young. You know what I'm saying? But as that transitions happens and the lessons start to learn, and now I got to teach my son or my daughter how to work or how to do certain things in life. You know what I'm saying? That nurturing isn't needed. You know what I mean? It's more the sternness that's needed, and those life lessons. That takes up way more. I spend way more time with my sons than my wife do at this point, based off of what we're doing. You know what I'm saying? So when I get home, now I'm taking them to the ball field. Now I'm teaching them how to play ball. Now I'm doing this. Now I'm doing that. You know what I'm saying? To where now her role was becoming limited. You know what I mean? So, and even in today's times, men are so more hands-on than they were previously. We cook, we clean, we do all of that stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm a better cook than my wife is. You know what I'm saying? So I teach her how to cook the meals that, so I do it's crazy. I do the food shopping, and my grandma, like I told her one day, and she's like, "What, you do grocery shopping?" I'm like, "Yeah." And she's like, "That's men don't grocery shop." I'm like, "That's weird," because I've never not grocery shop. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's different in the matter of the balance, and people need to take into consideration that raising kids is a marathon and it's not a sprint.
That's very good. I like that you said that. I'm gonna come to you, Ash, after I say this. I think that that's interesting because the way that most women view their responsibility as it pertains to parenthood, they believe that they are supposed to do less. When in fact, the scripture in 1 Corinthians 11, 8 or whatever, it talks about how the woman was made for the man. And so if he is saying that I want you to cook, clean, and take care of the kids, then that is the role that you're supposed to play in that man's life. And if in Proverbs 31, the woman still worked, she worked a little bit, she may not have worked as hard as the man did, but it didn't take away from the fact that she's supposed to be taking care of the kids and taking care of the home. I think that the idea that women seem to, I don't know, I would say modern women seem to think that because they work, now they should be doing less work at home is really interesting to me. Because, and then for you to say, well, women do more now, that's not true, because right now in the day that we live in, men, because they're getting married later, right? The average is like 27 years old. And so that means that men are cooking and cleaning. And they are also, as you will look, especially on TED Talks and things of that neighbor regards to that, even Oprah did a little special on it, that men are, especially Black men, are more involved in any ethnicity as it relates to parenting, right? So I know that you've been in the space, and I understand why you would see that, because there are some really trash dudes that represent themselves on platforms, but the studies are showing that men are doing more now today than they were before, as it pertains to their the lean in method that the NBA tried to carry on one particular year. So what I'm saying is that men contribute just as much as women on average currently, even in when a man wants to do a traditional role. For example, and I'll transition and get is I think he's and then get Dwayne in here. Like, for example, when I was in my first marriage, like, she did everything as it relates to homeschooling, right? And I would when I got home, I still had to take care of the kids in the sense of making sure that they were good. I had 4, so 3 of them always had something to go to. So whatever practice needed to be had, I had to go to. And then when games happened, we both did, but I would make sure that I was the one that set the plan on how we was going to get to where and who was going to do what. I was the person that was the provider and the protector. Like, just going to work is not it should not be overrode by the fact that a woman is taking care of the kids. I think that happens a lot, right? And so I'll leave it there for now. Ash, you wanted to say something. What you got?
You so long-winded, I forgot. No, I'm playing.
That is true. That
I'm
is true.
playing. I'm playing. What I want to say is, please leave these new age labels off of me. I said I don't fit. I don't fit. I'm not transitional, whatever that is. But from what I've seen, I've seen because my grandpa, he went out and buy groceries. He'll cook. He'll barbecue. You know, my grandpa, but before he died, he was a damn good cook. And that's why I say I don't fit, because what I saw growing up is I saw both parties contribute to make the household move. You know, so that's why I say I really don't fit the modern or whatever, because the man came in, the man work. Hey, you go buy this. Hey, you see this need to be done. Go grab that. Or hey, can you pick this up on the way home? It's like, I guess you would say, more of a partnership to keep things moving. Because that's why I say I don't get the whole tradition, because my tradition don't look like everybody else. It wasn't just the man going outside and being tired and not bringing in no food and the woman just go grocery shop. No, it was a collaborative effort. That's why I say, depending on what you saw, you kind of want your mama, then you kind of don't, because you know you got a little issue with her. But at the same time, my tradition don't look like everybody else, because that's what I be looking for in my relationship, is somebody I can work with and not against. Because a lot of times I know everybody haven't had that experience, so you don't understand that role. Because as Miss Taken was saying, there are people that expect just for the woman to do the kids and the household, and I come in, I sit down. But at the same time, if you're talking to your partner and y'all are really on the same page, y'all should understand how your relationship should move. You get what I'm saying? So that's why
Agreed.
I don't fit into this kind of genre. That's why I'm just over here in La La Land.
I
But
think that you
hey, Dwayne.
what's up? I think you do fit. I think you do fit. It's a matter of that. What I see the issue is that, and then maybe we can get to this question. And but I'm gonna ask you this question, and then you can tell me if you that where you fit, because there is a question that I have. I think that it would make a lot of sense for you what you're saying, Dwayne. What you got on the question? Did you hear the question? Let me put
No,
it
no,
back.
I didn't. Yeah,
Okay.
rewind it.
Well, don't worry about it. I'm gonna go to the next question. You can answer it because we've been on that one for a while. So the question that I have is, do women actually want traditional men or just the benefits of one? And you can describe what you think a traditional man is.
Oh, on me.
Yes, sir.
Oh, appreciate that. I believe they do desire the traditional man, but I think society has deceived and warped that image of getting that bag. So, but also traditional women, they do work, and they did work as well. So even what you mentioned about, the children, that is work. But then also working outside of the home, I think also that happened as well. But then the majority was typically inside the home. But the man, as for working, man, the Bible says, by the sweat of your brow you shall eat, right? So that's what you were supposed to do. But then, as for providing for your family as um, a desire and a designated motive, your purpose, that's a different look on it, because there's some men out here that, they slipped up, right? And then they're now providing in the form of child support. That's a form of providing. So in that, like, there's an intentionality that is associated with the traditional man and his again, motive and purpose.
That was really good, bro. Who you got going next?
Mistaken.
Mistaken. I don't know what's going on. Yeah, you.
Me either. Something's I'm like lagging is cutting
Did
off.
you? Yeah, it's crazy. Did you read what Sir Hale said in the
Yeah,
back chat?
really. Oh, let me see. Um, I also think that again, being in these spaces and seeing what I've seen, I would say the same for women. I do think that women want the benefit of a traditional man, but also want the expect the modern want the modern aspects of a relationship as it pertains to men, meaning that I think traditionally when men were mostly seen as the breadwinners, that they go out, they make most of the money, they take care of most of the bills, if not all of the bills. And whatever work that they did do, for the most part, that additional income didn't necessarily really I don't want to say contribute to the household, but it may have helped somewhat, or that was extra money that she used to do what she wanted with. Like that was kind of like my grandmother's situation as they got older. It was like, if there was little extra things that she wanted, she worked and got a little extra money to do that. It wasn't necessarily that it was needed to cover the household because he made decent money in order to take care of them, right? But I think but also what went along with the traditional men back there is that they were able to um, tune out, meaning that they didn't necessarily have to take an active role in being a part of the household. It was go to work, and that was his main responsibility. And then the other than maybe the discipline of the kids, where the mom would say, wait till your dad gets home, and then,
Why do you
he
think that?
handles that.
Why do you think that she would say that if Dad was not active?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Dad was as active as the disciplinarian part. Um, so that's where I think the traditional aspect was. It wasn't and again, I'm kind of like Ash. I mean, it was my grandparents. So I grew up seeing my granddad helping. Like he helped my grandmother, I mean he made a great steak and gravy. Oh my God, his steak and gravy was the bomb. So he would, for the most part, she did majority of the cooking and cleaning and things like that, but he was always working. He was, and even in those times when he was working and she needed help, he didn't have any issue with coming in and helping her, whatever it was that she needed. But I know that that wasn't the traditional household of most men that I see. That wasn't even my household that I grew up in. Um, so, but what I'm saying in terms of women, I think they want the benefit of that. They want the benefit of the man taking care of everything, like my granddad did. Like my grandmother didn't know how to put gas in her car. She didn't worry about
You
having to pay the
basically you
bill.
just believe that they want the benefits of one, not actually wanting. They want the benefit.
Having
And
to
you said
deal with the other
that men,
aspects
okay,
that
so
come along with that.
they
Yeah.
just want attributes. Okay, so we're gonna move
Because
it.
they
So
want them to be emotionally involved down.
um,
They want them to help with the child rearing. They want them to be their best friend. They want like all of those things. And I think that's more of a modern mindset than it was in terms of a traditional mindset.
for sure. Who you got going next?
I guess go ahead, Proto.
Oh,
I mean, you kind of hit it on the nose, mistaken, right? So, right, they they just want somebody to flip the bill. You know what I'm saying? They also don't want to make any decisions either, and that's the wild thing about nowadays, right? Because most men grew up, I grew up in a single parent mom type of situation. So I kind of grew up thinking that I was looking for a partner, or I should have a partner, when that's not the case. Like, women want a man that's going to, take complete lead and have somebody that they can just lean on and tell them what to do, what to eat. And I grew up thinking that you actually wanted um somebody that you could share ideas with, and that's just not the case. You know what I'm saying? Like, going back and forth and having a co-pilot, you know what I'm saying? It's just not realistic, especially when it comes with, having to provide, you know what I mean? So I always looked at being a 50-50 kind of a person. Like, I kind of grew up expecting that. I was like, oh, I'll be a 50-50 guy, I guess, you know what I'm saying? Because that's what my mom used to say she wanted, so I was like, I guess, that makes sense. But when you grow up, women don't want a 50-50 person, you know what I'm saying? They don't want the same accountability. They don't want to make the same decisions as you. They don't even want to add to the conversation. They just want you to tell them what to do through and through. You know what I mean? And that's just it's weird of the transition, because like I said, I was once thinking like, oh, I had to be open and honest, and not honest, but like open to ideas, and I was looking for that kind of partner. You know what I'm saying? But though, when I seen those partners never came, and I started being more traditional, more do this my way, I need you to do this, I need you to be XYZ, blah 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 blah. That's what started to work. You know what I'm saying? And I got more success that way than trying to be open and listening and expecting us to take care of each other equally. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of how that worked out.
That's interesting. Who you got next?
Um, let's go with Sir Hell, because I know he wants to hop in on that.
Yeah.
Everybody, I want everybody to come in closer and turn up your television. On this special day, it's a momentous occasion. I firmly believe with Prototype and Ms. Taker, what in the world is, God, what is happening?
Sir Hell speaks in the
I firmly believe with everything that they said. But I think that we have to expand it. Now, one thing that I don't spend a lot of time in this quote unquote space. If you do this, you will become poisoned. And what I've done though is spent most of my time in research, like research, like statistics and analysis and details. The question here is: do women actually want traditional men, or just the benefits of one? This presupposes that women understand the benefits of men beyond money. And if we can make this distinction and we can qualify and say women understand the benefits, then we can answer the question. We just don't have enough statistical analysis to verify that women actually understand men, right? So if from a woman's perspective, I cannot answer this, but I can tell you from research and from my coaching and speaking that women don't want to be obligated to anything, just for the most part. Like, when they feel like doing something, they want to be able to do it. They want the freedom to come and go as they please. But once you pin them down with an obligation, you've rarely heard a woman say, I got to take care of that. This is my responsibility and I'm owning this. You probably never heard. Let me take a census. Everybody on the panel, how many women you've ever heard say that this is my responsibility? I don't want my husband taking care of this at all.
I have.
I've heard that from single women. You know what I'm saying?
I'm talking in marriage or relationships.
I don't know that many married people.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I have.
So
it is really rare.
I can tell you, if I took 100 people, maybe five have said that and meant it, right? Whereas men, it's my job to pay these bills. It's my job to be the protector. This is what I'm supposed to do. I'm simply saying men are cultured to be obligated and to hold to their obligations, because our masculinity is defined by our ability to be responsible. If we're irresponsible financially or irresponsible with our money, particularly with our children, any ding on that sense of fulfilling our obligations, we're less than a man, from men and women. Women, she's emotional. She's going through some things. She can't be a good mother because she's going through, right? So I think that we culture men to be traditional. So we don't really get an opinion. We could have these modern conversations, but at the core, most men are traditional because society will crumble if we're not. We have to be stable. Traditional means structure. It means foundation. It means stable. So if men are not traditional, then everything crumbles. We have built a society where we can afford women to have an opinion and the luxury to determine whether they want to be modern or traditional. I'll say this last thing, then I'll be done. I think the consequence of this is forget you and me as adults. Forget us. It's the children who are suffering. Traditional homes where mothers take on that responsibility of raising productive, mannerable children, and fathers providing an environment where they are safe and they're structured, it's the kids who are being affected. There's an all-time high of anxiety, of teenage depression, of obesity. The effects of us not being structured and being obligated to our responsibilities, it's not just on us as adults. Who it's really affecting is the kids who don't have the autonomy to make their own decisions. So I'll say it like that. I can't answer this question directly, but just from my observation, I'll give you that.
You did a good job, Ash. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was
Go
going to say,
ahead,
yeah,
Ash.
Ash.
For sure. What you got, Ash?
Nothing. Y'all
You
done
can
said
speak to this
everything.
because you're a woman.
Let me tell you something. I just told you this traditional BS is out of there. Okay, it's out of there. Just let it go. Everybody be your own person. I don't think women even know what a traditional man is because a traditional man ain't never been in the household. How about that one? Because if you never seen something, how you want something except for your mama preaching about how the dudes done did her wrong and how she wants this dude to do that, but yet you can't communicate properly with him. So the benefits of one, they don't know what it looked like. How you want the benefit of something that you don't know what it looked like? You got to know what the actual model is, don't you, to build it or something? Because what has happened, the poison that's been put into these young girls is a man ain't this and ain't that. He ain't this, he ain't that. But when they do find somebody that is this and that, they don't know how to treat him. So you don't get the benefits. You get the benefits of what your mama has said, what he ain't. And you got to try to get the poison out, as so to speak. So I can't really say what the average woman wants because you don't know what you want because you've been taught to go against any aspect instead of trying to figure out what went wrong here. Because a lot of times everybody ain't trying to figure out where they went wrong. The relationship is always the other person's fault. The man didn't do this, the man didn't do that. But as a woman, what did you uphold? Because for me, I always try to go back and look at what I did wrong. What could I have done to solve this for coming to an end the way it did? That's me. I like to call it adulting. I don't like to call it single mom and all this other type of crap. I don't need no label to say I'm an adult taking care of business. That's just what it is. That's why I say women and this traditional men. What you gonna do with him? What you gonna do with a man like your papa? I just want to really ask all these people out here that's had the good papas and whatnot. What you gonna do with a man like that? Because that man expects that dinner to be cooked, them kids to be handled, the house to be clean without having to say anything. So what you gonna do with him? You ain't Your mind ain't there. That's why I say these women, we are not raising our kids in that manner. So you can't say what you want, being that you're not even raised in that manner. Now, like I said, I saw it. I just chose wrong. I tried to be my own person and do my little la da da thing, like Ike Turner said, and it just didn't work for me. Because I really don't fit. Because that's the problem. We don't know how to choose people that actually fit with us in the idea that we have. We try to hold on to these traditional values and try to put it on modern society, and it doesn't work because you're trying to fit an example that's not for today. You don't understand that you have to tweak it. It's just like, what's the little thing with all the colors on it? The block that we had, the
Rubik's
Rubik's
Cube.
Cube.
Rubik's
Yeah,
Cube.
the Rubik's Cube. It's just like that. But we're not looking at it that way. We're trying to make things fit, and that's not how it is. Because that's why I hate that people always say you got to date somebody with a two-parent household, because sometimes them people in them two-parent households is like this. They not coming together. They like this. They're fighting against each other, trying to have a power struggle. You know what I'm saying? Everybody ain't raised right. I don't care what you say. I done been on every end of the spectrum. Should have removed myself faster than what I did. But anyway, I'm not gonna go into the trauma. Women ain't ready for no traditional man. You know why? Because your grandpa would have been a one upside your head and put you out. Dwayne, did you go?
Man, that's crazy that you said that, Ash, because as it relates to traditional men, there is a structure that they require from a woman, meaning that if they see something that is uh, that they don't like, they're going to communicate that and expect that there to be a change, right? Without you giving pushback, right? And what I think is that modern women that say that they want a man to be traditional, they only see him as money.
Mm-hmm.
They don't really see him as all the other aspects that Sir Hale was talking about and what I'm mentioning as well. Because I would say that, for example, he would say, well, I know me for sure, it's like how you dress matters. So I would say, I don't like I don't like what you're wearing. And the traditional man would more than likely be that way as well, as opposed to a modern man would say, well, if that's what she want to wear, that's what she want to wear. When in actuality, if you're talking from a biblical perspective, it literally says to be modest as a woman, right? Don't let other men see your valuables. That's supposed to be reserved for your husband, right? So then when the traditional man says, you know what, I don't like what you're wearing, could you go change it or just say to change, whatever the case may be, they will say he's controlling, so therefore he must be insecure, right? And so that's the part that the conversation is about, is do men want traditional or control? And I'm interested in seeing, do y'all see it as a difference? Go ahead, Prototype, what you got?
So that's the thing though. When she's dressing her way, she wants you to say something. This is one of those times where women say, I want a man that's gonna put me in my place. You know what I'm saying? She's only doing that to press the boundaries, and you could then tell her to get back in line. So they they want to be brainless for real. You know what I'm saying? They want to they want to act like teenagers. And that's basically where it falls at. You know what I'm saying? They want to be saying, oh, he told me to, I better change. And then they're going to go tell their friends, girl, he told me to go change. I'm going to go change. You know what I'm saying? Like, so they want you to be traditional. And like I said, when you were more of a, or that's what she want to wear, that's what she want to wear, you're losing points with her. You know what I'm saying? Because she wanted you to say, go change. Or she wanted you to be like, go sit down. Or she wanted you to say, put me on place. Or she wanted you to say, shut the F up. Or you know what I'm saying? Like, I had a relationship before my wife where she was like, well, if you hit me, at least I know you love me. And I was like, what? I'm not putting my hands on you. Like, that's crazy. So that's what I'm saying. They want to be put in their place. Yeah. So they want a traditional guy, but that's just what they want. But we're thinking, oh, that's just another adult, but it's really not, and we can't think of it like that. And when we do think of it like that, that's when we fail in these relationships or trying to build it as young men. Relationships. I understand Sir Hell's everybody's not, you know what I'm saying, whatever, Sir Hell, but at the same time, you know what I'm saying? Because we went back and forth on this already, but but at the same time, like, men need to take these more authoritative roles and build a woman up to where she then understands exactly what he want him to do, and in that way, you could probably have a conversation down the line about, oh, what you come up with, or what you come up with, like, you know what I mean? But at the beginning, it's more of a man leading and man telling her and building her. You got to build your woman, so it just is what
That's
it is.
really good. Listen, that's really good.
Sounds like Prototype is agreeing with me. Oh.
He, yeah, he did. Yeah. That's interesting. Y'all be going back and forth with that conversation for real. That's crazy, because it is important for a man to build up his wife. That's really important, and so that means that the man has to be an individual that is capable of building, right? So that means that he's pouring into himself so that he can pour into her, which also means that he needs to have structure before he begins to try to be in a marriage. He needs to have a commitment that he's already worked on or working on. He needs to have accomplishments. I'm not saying monetarily, but I'm saying, but he needs to see himself as a leader somewhere before he becomes that in a marriage, right? And so I think it would be, that's one of the reasons why this show is what it is, because we try to provide information for the people that are wanting to be married so that they can use it to be a better wife and to be a better husband. And so I want to transition a little bit, unless Dwayne wanted to add, but I want to know
Can I add
what
to
is.
this before we move on?
Oh yeah, for sure.
I'm
What you
sorry,
got?
Dwayne, did you have something you wanted to say first? Okay. Yeah, so a humble dad. So in Prototype, we play back and forth. I truly respect Prototype. Even though we disagree on a lot of things, I can respect somebody who puts the time and effort to qualify that thought. So it's always love and respect. But humble dad, what you just spoke on is really what we talk about mission and submission. Right. What this is what we're talking about. A man has to have that mission. He has to have something he's working on so that submission makes sense. And if a woman doesn't know what mission looks like, it's hard for her to develop the muscle of submission because she has nothing to work. It's like trying to, work to get in the right shape for a race you don't know you're going to be in. It's like when you know what you're working for, you know what kind of effort you need to put in to train for that. And I think this is why men, we have to be structured. That's why I said men, we don't have the luxury of being anything other than traditional. If you do anything other than this, after you hit 40, it's going to be a life of consequences. Because when you should have been structured in building, you kind of took the leisure role. Life is going to hit you in ways that are unexpected, and women are going to feel that. If you notice this, when women get older, like when they're younger, I don't want a traditional man, and then as soon as they get older, they want some help with these bills, and then men are like, when a kid is doing bad, it's like, where's his father at? It's like all the stuff, the intangible stuff that traditional men bring, we only appreciate it when something goes wrong, or somebody is in a dire circumstance. And this is why it's important for men to be who they are, but for women to understand what men bring, so that they don't run the risk of ignoring that early on just to desire that later on, when they've accumulated trauma and other relationships and probably children with men that they don't want. It's important for both to understand that. So I just wanted to add that on. This is the difference between mission and submission, and why both have to understand what these things are.
So to
Before
go,
we transition, can I just, put a little cherry on what they saying. Now, for
Sure.
all y'all that don't understand is, what they're basically saying is you need to have a man that's got a plan. He ain't got to have it all together. Firm believer, because what I have ran into is when you done got too deep, you done got knee deep. You can't turn back. You're about to drown. Some people don't see themselves in them roles that we put them in. As
mm,
far as being the man of the house, as far as being fathers, that's why you got so many broken homes, because a lot of people don't see themselves. Like, I've actually had a conversation with somebody, and I was so pissed off. I'm like, how you don't see yourself like this? It's not enough for you to see what the person's going to be, because you can believe it all day, but at the same time you're wasting your time if they don't see who that is. You have to stop trying to make a unicorn out of a broken down donkey. That's just pretty much it. That's just pretty much it, because that's what we do. Women, we always want to see the best. We always want to take Tyrone, run with Tyrone, because we're chasing it. What they call it, the Disney fairy tale that we were so little. But sometimes you have to step back from that and say, is this really worth it? And that's where Sir Hill has said, you 50 years old now, you want an actual traditional man to come in, relieve you from the stress of the bills. What they call it, super save. You know the rest. Say super save the 304s. No, drown. I say drown. You know why I say drown? Because you had decent men come to you, try to talk to you. You turned your nose up. You was waiting on Tyrone to get together, but now all of a sudden, what they say, you're about to hit the wall. Now all of a sudden you want to change your life and run the other way. No, hit the wall, because you got to learn. That's why I be trying to tell my kids, when you make a mistake, you got to learn from it and keep pushing. Just don't make the mistake again. And as I was saying in our little chat on Instagram, a lot of people want to go out here and with these dummies and continue to do the dumb things and not learn. What they say, you F around and find out. Live in that found out part. That's all I got to say.
yeah, Dwayne, what you got on it? Or you want me to ask you the next question and you can go?
Yeah, now come on with the next question. I think it'll flow together.
That's a bet. Okay, so we've hit a couple of different things that kind of lined up with the questions that were provided. So I was going back and forth, but I'm gonna go with this one. How does financial independence impact the dynamic between men and women in relationships today? What's your thoughts on that? Because we talked about what I said anyway, that it seems as if that modern women see traditional men only as dudes that have money, or that they're going to utilize money. Where I would think that I saw this meme that was talking about, not meme, but it was a reel. She was saying that I think the issue that some women face, or modern women face, is that they are not willing to work on the man's budget. They would want to be over that man's budget. So, for example, if the man is making $60,000 a year, and even though she may be making 40,000 or $60,000, 60,000 or $70,000, why can't she just operate on his budget and then utilize the finances in relation to building, their financial wealth later, as opposed to trying to have all their monies together and we can afford the most of whatever that is. So coming back to that, how would you answer this question? How does financial independence impact the dynamics between men and women in relationships today?
It's one foot in, one foot out. And traditionally, from the farming concept, uh, the men went out and did the farming, the hunting, and all that stuff, while the women stayed with the kids. But now, no, they out there hunting too, and in that, they're like, we out here. But I think from a societal standpoint, society is the one that put the turtle on the fence. But then also
They
he
put
didn't
the
get there by
turtle on the
he,
fence.
yeah, he didn't get there by himself.
Okay, got it.
It means he didn't get there by himself. All right. So in it, like this, I think it's by design. So it's tough. A lot of people have to, can't do the traditional ways, and it's a win while losing concept, because the ideal situation, we can talk about what is the ideal, where the woman is in a home and she is educating the children, and you don't have to worry about public school or the influence of anything outward, that they want to push on our children. That would be ideal. But then many people don't have that fortunate ability of being able to do it. So with that financial independence, they as for women, they have the ability to go out there and work. And I'm in my wife, she works. Now, I don't see any issue. She enjoys it. And then we have been able to fashion it where our children do go to a private school. And so as for the education piece, and I'll also add this: not many women are gifted in the area of homeschooling. Not many. As a matter of fact, I'll ask this: how many men homeschool? Because that's not the traditional way. But then looking at the providing for the children, because we may mention earlier, it's about the children and a lot of the things and the decisions which we make. That would be ideal, but not many people are able to do where it is. What you shaking your head for, HD?
You was onto something until you got off of it.
Come on,
Because
what was on to?
because
Like I knew
the
what I was
natural role of a woman is to teach her kids. So every woman is able to teach their kids. It's a matter if they're willing to or not. It's not a
Whoa,
matter of
whoa, whoa, whoa,
it's
whoa, 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 whoa,
not
whoa.
a
And
matter,
that,
it's not a
forgive
matter.
me.
You want me to forgive you for interrupting it? What you saying?
Go ahead.
Okay. So it's not a matter of skill, it's a matter of will. Because I thought the same thing about Jen, because of what I had saw her not do necessarily in the house. I didn't think that she would be fit to be a homeschool teacher, because I did not see success in consistency of her finishing things,
Mm-hmm,
as long as we have been together, right? That's what I saw. But then
mm-hmm,
when when she showed me what it is that she was going to be doing, as well as when she took me to the homeschool convention and it outlined structure for her, and then she did it even while having a part-time job, and my kids were doing wonderfully, my disposition changed to say, and hers too, right? She was like, she became the person that people went to talk to about homeschooling and how could you do it. So, and then if you go back to how long public school has been around, public school has not even been around that long. If you consider what it looks like from Bible times to or until maybe, I think public school may be around 200 to 250 years old, something like that, right? And who was teaching the kids? It was their mother who was teaching them. And then they would as they got older to be 12, 13, 14, then they would follow the daughters would follow their mothers to learn homemaking basically, and then sons would follow their fathers to learn what their fathers do. That's why Jesus was a carpenter, because Joseph was, right? So and that goes to what Prototype was saying about that women seem to think that raising their kids is in adolescency. But it's a whole demographic of or a linear, if I could say that, how kids are going to be raised. Where in their younger ages, women are there to build that part of them up, and then the men take on that role as it goes later. So, to say that most women are not, that's not true, because God designed them to be.
All right. So that's the piece where I want to get to whenever we talk about traditional and modern, right? Which one did God design them to be, traditional or modern?
He designed them to. He designed them to teach their kids.
No, most definitely. But which one, which traditional or modern? Who would be more inclined to teach their children from in the way that we're speaking of now?
A traditional woman.
Okay, that's what I'm getting at. So I think somebody touched on it earlier about having to have these things modeled for you, and our
Right.
society
I
does.
just told you that there was no model for Jen.
No,
And
and
there
I
were
understand.
a lot of homeschool mothers, and they figured it out. Just no different
Oh,
than men. Men, I mean, you did not have a father figure, right? But you figured it out, and then you became better because of you putting yourself in position to become better. Prototype the same way. I'm not familiar with Sir Hale, how he was raised necessarily, but we are definitely considered some of the top dudes in society as it relates to character, integrity, and then how we move. And we did not grow up in traditional fashion.
almost definitely. But that's what I'm getting at is the build up to that. And Jen was, I would say, a great example of what could be. But in our society, and that's I believe we're fighting against those things. So homeschooling would be considered traditional
Mhm.
versus now where you now have public school as being the source of schooling. So that's why I made mention of earlier about the win while losing situation, because just like what you said of even as with my dad was actually in my life, thankfully, but my dad lost his dad at the age of 10 years old, and I could see the deficiencies in his life right now based upon him losing his father at that age. Do I consider him a good dad? Good enough for me as in instilling in the things and the values in me. Now, could I have desired better? Oh, most definitely. Could he have been better? Yeah, most definitely. But that's what I'm saying. That's from the female standpoint too. Is if that is not modeled, the traditional, and if how many generations too, as we're thinking about it, how many generations far off is that traditional from our generation now? So many people have it's considered a benefit or from a prerequisite standpoint, you will be better off statistically if you have certain prerequisites met before, such as a nuclear family. If you came from that, statistically, you're going to do better off. So that's what I was getting at with the women nowadays. it is very difficult for them to shift gears into that traditional role of homeschooling, especially if you're educated, because you're not. If you're going through university and going through college, it's going to be much more difficult for you now to regress unless there has to be something that hits you that brings you back to that point where you're like, hey, I want this. As for the family, the home, this is what I want to focus on. It
Yeah, I
has
got.
to hit you.
I was just only responding to the fact that you said that women, all women are not homeschool mothers. Like they don't. They're not. They don't have. They're not equipped to do it.
All?
Yeah.
I
All.
know. I didn't know. I know. Heck no. I didn't know. I didn't say all. No, in no way.
Okay. So you said. Oh, okay. All right.
Oh,
So you.
no way. No women. No women are, and it's and you and I, we know a couple of people who are with inside the homeschooling community,
Mhm.
right? And it is a community, and it's crazy whenever for those people who are outside those community who do connect to people inside those homeschooling community to see how it can be done, because some of them have been there. It's generations that's been doing it, and then to be introduced to it, it's like this is something new. I didn't even know this existed, and especially in this time.
For sure, I got you, Proto. What was you about to say, bro?
Y'all don't switch so many times between homeschooling and what's traditional, and you know what I mean. But to answer, just to go with the question, how does financial independence impact the dynamics? Um, well, I think we figured out a few weeks ago that men are in it for love and women were in it for the stability and the financial whatever, right? Of needing a man. Women wanted to needed a man to, do certain things. And men just wanted love and you know what I'm saying, and a family, like which generates love in the house. Like we just want to come home and it be love and the kids, daddy, you know what I'm saying? And it smells like apple pies. Like that's love to us. You know what I'm saying? Like that's why men get women. That's why we have families. That's why we create these homes for a sense of peace and joy and happiness and love. And but women are just like, oh, work, work, work. And this is work and that's work. And you know what I'm saying? Well, I got money now, so I don't need no man. Like, you know what I'm saying? And men don't say that. We be like, we got money now, so we can get more comfort in a home. Like, you know what I'm saying? So we can get more love and make it easy for everybody to love. You know what I mean? So that's the dynamics between our financials. Like women are completely fine as long as they have money with getting a cat, having girlfriends, and not catering to a man for the love. Like it's just not this. We're just in it for different reasons, man, and we don't understand each other, and I don't think we ever will. You know what I mean? So it's a weird thing where like, will a man ever be loved truly by a woman that he really wants? It's slim. It can happen. I'm not saying it can, but I guess, and to the guys who argue that they, that women do truly love them, them women probably came up in those traditional values. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if Dwayne's wife is West Indian as well, like, you know what I'm saying, but it's a certain kind of woman who's seen that, or maybe there's something with her. But for the most part, once a woman gets money, then she'd be like, I don't need a man, because it's not, she don't really care about the love of a man. To her, a man is work, family is work. You know what I'm saying? I don't think they actually see, unless it's a little boy. Like women do want little boys just so for the love, but it's just like having a little dog. You know what I mean? They'll get a dog and that'll give a woman all the love she needs. Having little boys and dogs, puppies, like, you know what I'm saying? And they're happy with that amount of love. They don't necessarily want a man's love, but a man wants a woman's love. We want that softness, we want that tenderness, we want the head rubs, you know what I'm saying? We want the warm smells, you know what I'm saying? The vanilla beans and you know what I'm saying, and the cocoa butters, you know what I'm saying? Like we appreciate those kind of things. So that's the financial, independence, how it hurts, you know what I mean? It don't necessarily hurt the woman. Like it benefits her. Now she's like, I don't need no man, like, you know what I mean? But for us,
But wouldn't that hurt her though?
no, she don't really care. Like she,
No,
like
no, no.
most
That's not
women.
that part. That part, I'm not refuting. I'm saying for her to get money and now say she doesn't need a man, doesn't that hurt her?
No, I don't. What you mean? No, I don't. I don't think it hurts her.
Because her design is to be with a man. Like that's why she was created.
Yeah, but
So
we all
she
have free. We all have free will. You know what I mean? And God gave us free
correct,
will
but
for a reason.
if
So,
she
regardless of the design, I
regardless,
understand what you. Regardless of the design, yeah, because we have free will to go against it or to remold ourselves to take in different spirits. So, like, if I lend myself to a different set of spirits, if I'm a Satanist, then you know what I mean. Regardless of how I was designed, I'm a Satanist now. So my desire is to be happy and serving
that would
Satan.
be not beneficial for you.
Yes, but that's still not what's making me happy. If me being a
I know,
Satanist
but
makes me
it's
happy,
not going to be beneficial
that's
for you.
beneficial. My happiness is beneficial for me.
It's not
You know what
though.
I'm saying? If that's how I feel about it, yeah, it is.
Okay,
Like, you know
fine.
what I mean? You can say it's detrimental. You know what I'm saying? But
Because I'm not.
maybe I don't want to live that long. Maybe
But
I'm
but I'm
cool
saying
over here.
I'm not thinking about it as the individual talking about what their happiness is. I'm talking about the long game. Because at the end of the day, a Satanist, at the end of the day, is going to be in the pits of hell as a result. So it's
And I'm
not going to
thinking
be.
about it though, like that.
I know I'm
I mean,
with you on.
from a spiritual
And then,
standpoint,
and
but we
then
gotta.
and then and then from for a woman, if she if she want to be single, that's different. If she just want to be single, but if she gets money just to say I don't need a man, then she has just made it really bad for herself. Because as it gets later, she is going to want a man and not the money. We'll go with sir. What you got?
I don't think so.
I know.
Well, so humble that it's right. He is syllogistically strong in what he is saying. It just there's just no way around it. Because humble that is speaking to design, you're speaking to decision. And if we're looking at our what we do based on design, then if we make certain decisions that are detrimental, then it definitely is bad for us. So, but to this question, humble dad, most people can't have this conversation. Most people like financial income is not the same thing as financial independence. And I think that we throw these terms out here and people think I'm INDEPENDENT. Do you know what that means? Not you. You know, it's not you, right? Financial independence means that you don't have to get on somebody's schedule and they got to put you on, give you some hours and you get a 2-week paycheck. Financial independence means that you put yourself in a position where you're not obligated to go into anybody's organization, for your way of life. And if we look at this statistically, there are very few people who are actually financially independent. So the real issue here is how does the illusion of financial independence impact the dynamics between men and women? I think the illusion that we see so often, people start to supplement what they need out of people because it's just too difficult to develop character to be able to coexist with somebody. So most people are not financially independent. And I think that people need to take a real look at themselves. They need to take a real look at themselves because this illusion is what keeps people in debt. Like people buy Mercedes Benzes while they going home to an apartment. It's ridiculous. Unless it's an exquisite one that they have some investment properties in, or people going to buy Louis Vuitton clothes and bags. And it's like, listen, you still paying $1,500 in rent and you in debt. Why you paying Louis Vuitton? You need to be paying yourself. So most people can't have this conversation. They don't know what financial responsibility is. They don't know what savings is, let alone financial independence. So it is the illusion of this that creates issues because once people start making a buck, they coincide what they think their their relationship value is with their dollar amount. And sometimes what you make lies on who you are. So I'll answer that question like this, and we will go with Miss Taken.
She back.
I hear what Hale is saying, but in the context of what I know what Humble Dad meant by this by this question in terms of financial independence, making your own money that you can pay your own bills, right? Without the support or need of a mate in order to do that, right? Is that to level set what you meant?
You got it. But Sir Hale had a really dope.
If that's the
No,
point,
he
though,
did.
I'm
No, he
mistaken.
did.
If that is the
He
case,
did.
then
But
women are financially independent if men are paying the bill, because it means you don't have to work for your lifestyle. So in that case, it would still be correct.
No, because
Syllogistically invincible.
no, financial independence is that if I was to not be in relation with that man, even if he's paying all of the bills, if I was financially independent, I would still be able to cover the cost of whatever my lifestyle is. So I wouldn't technically be financially independent outside of him. I think that's what the question is asking, right?
Yes. But sir,
So,
I'm just saying, Sir Hell, you had a beautiful
mhm,
perspective though, for sure.
yeah.
Miss Thing, what you thinking?
I would say, thinking from a societal standpoint, I think that the financial independence impact the dynamic between men and women by, in some regards, leveling the playing field for we. Oh, hold on, let me explain. In terms of the relationship, traditionally, the dynamic in terms of, if we want to talk about power in relationship, um, was based on finances, meaning that women didn't necessarily have access to, credit. They needed a husband in order to even have credit. They didn't have access to their own bank accounts. They needed to have a man for that. They didn't have access to certain jobs that would pay enough for them to be independent, right? So all of the things that would require you, like I said, back in the day, for you to be financially independent of a man was almost non-existent, and there was a reason for that, right? It was to create a dependence, um, on the man in order to continue traditional roles like take care of the family, take those kind of things. So fast forward, now that women are in the position to have their own finances, I think it kind of I don't even say balance, for lack of a better word, I'll say balance the power, because in that sense, all of the power was in the man's hands, right? A woman couldn't leave. Her only option was to get married, right? She couldn't live independently. Her only option was to depend on a man. So now I think in more modern times, which I think for some women they have gone to the extreme with it, to be like, I don't need no man. I can pay my own bills. I don't need you for nothing. Like that, I think, is the other extreme of it. But I think now it has, for women, have given them a sense of having a voice within the relationship, because now you can't hold money over my head, because now that's no longer an option. So we're going to have to communicate about making certain decisions. We're going to have to communicate because you also are now needing my finances to contribute to the household. So I think it kind of helps a little bit with balancing the dynamic of power in the relationship.
Listen, this is the problem that I have with that statement. That women don't see men for being the leader, because the position should not be determined by money or if both are making money.
But
Yeah,
historically,
I'll give you example. I
you
understand
gotta look
historically.
at it historically. Historically, that has been the
No.
determining factor.
Women, no, women made that to be a thing because men took care of women. They took care of them, right?
They had
So
a choice.
men did have a choice.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll take that back, because some of them didn't. Because
No,
that's
but
exactly how
some of them. Let me
moving
not
to
talk
the
about some
shift
of
of
them.
welfare. But go ahead.
But traditionally, if men were married and he was the only one working, he had to take care of her, right? So she was winning because he was taking care of her, right? Because she's still paying, he's still paying for her cost of living. But he also provided protection and he also provided provision as well. He also provided structure. So to just say that he's bringing home money is what this, and if she's making more, so now she is able to usurp uh his God-given position is insane, because the president of the United States has a lot of power. He doesn't make more money than a lot of people in America. If you even if you look at NBA or professional coaches, they don't make more money than the players, but they have the more responsibility of how the team is ran, or the GM. So to say that because you make a certain amount of money, that you now you feel like you are more in the position of the power dynamic, that's the problem that I'm saying that I have, that women should not be in that mindset. They should be in the mindset, he's the leader, I decided to marry him, so I'm going to follow him. Men could or will, it doesn't really matter, men could ask her for her advice or not. At the end of the day, whatever he decides is going, if he goes with her decision and it don't work, they're gonna say it's his fault. And if they go with his decision and it don't work, they're gonna say it's his fault. So why not just go with whatever he's saying? Because at the end of the day, he gonna have to fix it if it mess up anyway. Ash, what's your thoughts?
Lost in the sauce. Um, but what? Okay. Put the question back up there, cause y'all be going and I be getting lost. I know I got a little touch of ADD, and I be hearing the noise, and I'm trying to figure out who up at 10. Okay. It does, and it's a negative thing too, because woman, yeah, it's trying to take that second nap. Women use that financial independency as a weapon towards men, and reason why I say that is because I had somebody, not me per se, because it's never nobody on the panel. Um, you're dating a guy that don't makes more than you, but you rub that in their face. I don't get that, because my thing is some people, made some wrong turns and that got them to the job that where they at, right? So my thing is, why rub it in their face that you make more to them when you can actually just move around from them? Like, why would you do that? Because to me, if you talking money, you talking nothing to me. That's being low class. That's the way I consider it. Because to me, what I make is what I make. But what are we gonna do together? Dwayne, don't start. We already had arguments. See, this is why I don't come back. I feel threatened.
This is a
But
safe space. This is a safe space.
but what I'm saying is that women need to stop weaponizing finances, because one day can be up, one day can be down, because everybody's job is taking a turn. You know what I'm saying? It's like, for me, I don't use my financial independency as a weapon, because hey, the bus they can decide to pull your girl tomorrow because I done said something wild to one of these people. That's why I don't understand. It's like women get in these spaces and feel like they untouchable until the job goes away. Then you want to cry and say you can't pay your bills. But my thing is, if you learn how to talk to a man, you can have help. Like, you shouldn't be belittling somebody just because you make more money than them. And then just because you make more money than them don't mean you financially stable, because you could be in debt and struggling to the next check. Because to me, my definition of the independence part is you're able to live. You got 6 months in the bank. You got 6 months. That means to cover from A to Z, the kids, house note, car, everything. A lot of these people are just saying independent because they're out making the money. But again, you're making the money to do your lifestyle. But if something happened, a hiccup, as we all see, what you do, you go run, you got to get help. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying anything wrong with getting help. But the thing is, you're so independent, right? Why don't you have it? And that's why I always have a trouble asking for help, because I'm supposed to be this independent person. Why you don't have it? You can't put the independence in somebody's face and be like, I'm independent. But yeah, when something happen, you can I borrow this? You got to humble, what they say, get humbled real quick. So I just see it is it's a weapon, and it's used the wrong way. Instead of trying to come together with the man and grow, because I know somebody said, I just don't know who to give credit to. Instead of putting your finances together and make it work for your household, you can get the 100,000 K, that this magical number that everybody done came up with. That's the standard of living. I don't know how, when the average American don't make that. I don't get it. Where it came from. The stupidity. But anyway, I'm not calling anybody stupid. I'm just saying the level of stupidity is beyond me. But anyway, I don't get it. Like, for me, I just think when you run around here talking this stupid stuff, you need to really make sure that you can help that man with 100,000. Just because he make 100,000, don't mean that 100,000 is not split in certain ways. You got your household's expensive, the kids. Everybody want to live like the movie stars, but not understanding what the movie star got to bring in to sustain that lifestyle. Like, the level of common sense is been flushed down the toilet. Go ahead, Sir Hale. I'm done.
Ashley, I'm really glad you said that. Mistaken. We need to debate. We need to debate. We're going to debate because
I
I
just,
I see you as someone like traditional is real,
yeah, she
but
does.
because you're educated and you got some strong points, you're going to argue the other side. I know tradition when to say it, but we're going to have to debate, Mistaken. We're going to have to debate. Ding, ding, ding.
We can. When I said power,
Just
I think,
before you go,
go ahead. I'm sorry, Hill.
I just
Go
want to
ahead.
go piggyback on what Ashley said. I'm glad she made that last point because I'm really glad she made that point because most women are trying to live a lifestyle. I don't know very many women who are trying to earn to just make sure that they can take care of the basics and put the rest up. I don't know very many of those. When you hear a woman talk about, I need a man on my level, she's not talking about saving. She's not talking about, well, here, being frugal, right? It's typically, if I can take you hear it, if I can go take myself to the 5-star restaurant, he got to be able to take me there. Well, if you can afford that, why do I need to? You know what I mean? If you can do it, and I think that this is something we have to talk about because if we talk about women are more independent, let's say we're right. Women today are making more money. They're independent. They don't need a man. Okay, I'll go there. So we got bigger homes, we got bigger cars, more vacations, and more expensive jewelry. What else? Stocks, bonds, ETFs, properties that are accumulating value, generation wealth. No, you start to see many of them who make more money go into more debt. So even if they have more stuff, if you do an analysis of their net worth, many of them are in the negative, because I think we associate independence with the accumulation of stuff, not necessarily the acquisition of value. And this is where men come in. Men are not so much focused on the number of things, but the value of things. And those traditional men, and Mistaken, you alluded to this, but I'm gonna add this other point. Men will get these women and put this money over her head so he can control. Well, let's talk about the other side of that, about how women will look at the most eligible man and will cute herself up, put on the red blush, have the nice pumps on and the nice dress, and she would go. Back in those days, they didn't have liposuction, but they would take these little devices and roll the fat out, because their whole goal was to look thin enough to go get the most eligible man so she could be what? Taken care of. So this is what I'm saying. The concept of financial independence has always been something women are more likely to experience, because whether they work or not, they can find a man who will take care of them and provide a lifestyle that they couldn't themselves. Men, however, most men have never, and most men will never experience financial independence, because their existence, the very definition of masculinity rides on the concept of working. So I wanted to add that point to come back that statement, but I think this will be a really good debate, a good conversation between us on this.
For sure. Mistaken, did you want to say anything? I know I said something and got other people involved. Did you have anything that you wanted to say before we hit our last question? You're on mute.
Yeah. Well, when I was talking in terms of how I actually agree with you, Humble Dad, is saying that about it shouldn't be that just because I have more money, I have more, power or whatever. But you can't fault a society that has created that dynamic. Because if we look at the patriarchal aspect of it, that is how control was maintained, right? You give somebody all of the access to resources and control of the resources they end up, the power shifts, and the person who's in need of those resources and can only access it by this means, that's the dynamic that has been set, right? So, of course, when women are now in a position to have access to those resources without having to go through that, it does shift that power in terms of so the things that women in the past have had to deal with. And I've seen, like, I've watched documentaries, I've actually seen some stuff on IG. Even now, they're saying that age group is the highest divorce rate, uh, at this point, of the things that they had to endure because the situation was set up as, I can't go nowhere because I cannot afford to leave. So I'm dealing with a husband who got kids, across the street, you know what I'm saying, down the block, or in another town, or deal with a verbal or physical abuse that may be occurring in those relationships, as well. So when you're looking at that, now it's like, okay, now I'm in a situation where this is no longer a barrier, right? I think it shifts the dynamic of saying, I am going to have a voice, because now, without us being able to communicate and my needs also be considered, then what for? I might as well stay by myself,
I got that is very intriguing.
And can I
How?
just add one
I'm
more
sorry.
thing?
Yeah. I apologize. Yes. Mhm.
Also looking at, and I'm not saying that that's everybody's story, but I've the older generation of older women that I've heard, even hearing stories from my grandmother, not about her, but about her friends, that, of her age, in situations like that. Like seeing my grandmother and grandfather, if I was to compare their relationship to my parents' relationship, were two totally different dynamics. So when Sir Hell said, I do believe in a traditional, I have an upbringing from that. And I see what it looks like when it works very, very well. My grandparents were the epitome of that. They took care of each other, right? Oh, thank you. They took care of each other, and that
What
was
hell see? I see it.
that would be the epitome of the relationship that I would have aspired to have. Not would have, I still aspire to have. That's a work in progress. But the relationship that I grew up seeing on a daily basis was also traditional. But I think it's the relationship that a lot of women express. My mom went to work, gave her whole paycheck to my dad, and got an allowance from that growing up. But he wasn't a good steward over his wife. He wasn't a good steward over his family. And as a result, it led to a divorce after 23 years. And I think that is what a lot of women are speaking to, because they haven't experienced tradition occurring in the correct manner, which is what your next question is actually going to get to.
Absolutely. I think it's interesting because I do believe that women should have freedoms. I think it's interesting what the outcomes have been in consideration of them saying the freedoms that they wanted, they have, and how, because of them having the freedom to choose, so to speak, who their spouse is or who they sleep with, has really transitioned how we function as a society, and most times do not want to be held responsible for the freedom that they have been given. Because if you say what you're saying as a result to how men were. I don't know. I haven't looked at that information. How traditionally, like 1920s or whatever, before civil rights happened and things of that nature, how what it was like for men and women, where men were just mistreating women the entire time. Like I don't know that information to but I do know that in the black family they were staying together and it was helping society. But then if I look over to a different group of people, such as Asians, or the people that had uh, less of a decision who it is that they married, they have a 1% divorce rate. But then when I come back to the biblical perspective, the men and women and husband and wives that pray together and go to church together have less than 0.001% chance of divorcing. Right. So there is a element of where there is responsibility to be taken on as it relates to saying a woman saying, well, I want my independence, right? But at the same time, their outcomes are not doing well for in relation to women in that regard. For them to say, you know what, I want to be able to choose who I sleep with. I want to be able to choose who it is that that I that I marry, things of that nature. I want all this. I want all this freedom. I want to be able to have my own money, and as a result, without financial discipline and without sexual discipline, they have created the world in which they say that they have a problem with, right? And so that leads me to the question that I have, right? The question is, let me go to it. What does it look like for a man to be traditional or controlling? Because in my mind, I would say that I want control in how I function, and as it relates to how I um when I'm telling my wife as far as like how I want the house to be. I want to be able to lay the foundation of what that looks like. What the kids are going to be doing. Like but she, for example, she takes care of all the cooking, but she has taught me how to cook. But at the same time, I say, listen, I don't want to have to even decide on what I eat. Whatever you put in front of me is what I'm going to eat. So she's in charge of that, right? And then I'm in charge of putting together date nights. I'm in charge of making sure all the bills are paid, even though she works, right? Um, I'm the one that puts the budget together, but we work on it together. I'm the one that is making sure that I'm taking the kids to the places they need to get to, but she also is a part of that as well. So it's like, um, I want that control, obviously, but within the boundaries, there is freedom, in my estimation. Ash, what's your take? What does it look like for a man to be traditional or controlling?
Yeah, it's the wrong one. I don't know. I'm the man over here.
Okay, you want me to go to Proto?
No, I didn't say go anywhere. I said I don't know what it looked like. But for me, I mean, they had controlling under condition traditional. That's the way I'm gonna start it off. Reason why I say they had controlling under traditional because women really ain't used to take no direction from no man. Because if you really want tradition, that means your man have some type of say. And a lot of us is not used to that. If you come from a single parent household, the woman has what the say, and that's who you're listening to. That's where it comes from. But when a man do try to come in and try to tell you something, it's you don't tell me what to do. I'm grown. I make my own decision, make my own money. You're optional, right? So to me, I feel like if you are dating the right person, what they say gonna hold value and weight. I understand some men are controlling, they won't tell you what to do, what to think, what to eat. You're like a process. What they go in is what you're gonna process out and nothing more, nothing less. But my thing is know who you want. Do you really want a traditional man? Like I said earlier, because a traditional man is not going to steady talk to you about what's already supposed to be done because that's supposed to be understood, done prior to him having to open his mouth. You're supposed to be able to think to say, okay, this needs to be done. Let me do this. Let me do that before he get here because I don't want to hear his mouth. You know, and it's not really necessary you want to hear his mouth. You don't want an argument because I think we've grown up with this combative relationship model so much that that's all we want to do is battle each other. That's why I say controlling, it's hidden in traditional. They try to say a traditional man is controlling, but my thing is, if you really value your man's opinion, is it really control?
Mm, that's really good.
So I'm
I'm
gonna
gonna
go to Dwayne.
I'm gonna go to Sir,
Oh,
and then
oh, oh, oh,
we'll go
excuse me.
we're
I
gonna
didn't know
wrap it
you
up.
had an order. Excuse
I
me.
didn't until we because I went over my time. So
Oh, oh, oh,
so
excuse
give
me.
it wrap it up in 1 minute. What you got? Everybody get 1 minute, and then we'll be out of here.
Okay, so a beautiful point, everybody. So God has given man his very nature, and he, by definition, is in complete control. I think that we have used this word and we've associated with all kind of negativity. So if a man says he is in control, is a negative thing. You cannot be a leader with a fear of taking control when you need to. You have to be unapologetic about it because, like, if you've driven a car, two of y'all can't drive at the same time. Somebody got to sit in the passenger seat. But if you're driving, you are cautious of what you do and the moves you make because you understand that your life is not going to only be impacted by your decisions. It's the same thing when it comes to marriage. Men are the drivers, we have the steering wheel, but with that power, with that control comes a great responsibility to protect the people we care about the most, and then those who might be impacted by our decisions in that vehicle as well, society, community, so on and so forth. So I don't think that we can dissociate control from being traditional. I do think that we can drive awareness as to what that looks like and let women understand that a man who is traditional and who controls the situation doesn't mean that you are powerless. It just means that we have to find some way to coexist without you feeling threatened by my leadership or me overlooking your contribution to what we do. I think if we start teaching each other, let's take it back to what Miss Taken said. She described her grandparents very beautifully. It is this dance, it's this work of art that we work to take care of each other. If that's the core, that we're taking care of each other, I don't think people will see a problem with tradition. And if they do, they themselves have just proven that they are the problem.
Prototype. What you got?
Oh man, to be honest, man, I don't want to be traditional or controlling. Um, I would rather a situation where um it was a partnership and it was teamwork, and we sat down and had a conversation about what's best for everybody. Um, that doesn't happen in most cases, so most men have to become leadership and controlling and traditional. What does it look like? Uh, it looks like something that we hate doing for real. It looks like holding your hand through a lot of BS that we shouldn't have to. Um, it looks like we have to. It just looks like raising another adult as from a kid. You know what I mean? It's just I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't see men that like it. Nobody from Prototype Dad wants that situation. But we'll sit back and be like, dang, I got a guy this, and this. Um, I don't know. I don't want to make traditional negative. You know what I mean? Because from my fairy tale perspective, traditional was two people coming together and you know making decisions and sitting at the table and sorting out the bills, and you know what I'm saying. But I don't know if that was a fairy tale. You know what I'm saying. I didn't grow up seeing married couples. You know what I'm saying, function. Like my grandmother wasn't married. I mean, my grandmother had been married several times, but she wasn't married to anybody that she wasn't married to my grandfather. She was married to like somebody else. You know what I mean? So I didn't necessarily get to see what traditional means. I was, I come from a background of trauma, so I can't really say. But I know controlling looks abusive. Controlling looks insecure. Controlling looks oh, my woman can't wear this, or it looks physically abusing, or it looks shut the F up. It looks I wish my wife would just sit down and be quiet. You know what I'm saying? And who wants to be treated like that? So I would say traditional and controlling are two separate things. And I think traditional is more about love and being together and working together as a family, as the idea we had from the 60s, right? Being, marching together, and we shall overcome together. That's my idea, traditional, that type stuff. You know what I'm saying? When you see controlling, it just has such a negative, abusive connotation to it that, I rather not subscribe to.
That's a bet. Mistaken. Have you went? Let's get it. Mistaken, and then Dwayne, you'll wrap us up.
All right, I was kind of writing down my thoughts, right? So I was just saying that I think there is a difference between being in control and controlling, right? So I definitely think that there is a level. Um, it lies in the approach and the influence that you have when you're in control. So there is a level of leadership, things like that that are expected. Leadership, authority, responsibility, but is a respect for the other person's autonomy, right? In their independence. And what made me think of that comes to mind is, if we're talking biblically, is looking at Jesus in his example, in his walk, listening to what you guys are saying. Well, I make the decision. That kind of thing is when I look at just Jesus is always in control, right? But when we look at his relationship with the disciples, he was not controlling, right? He didn't force his disciples to follow him. He gave them a choice, right? And what he did was, it was a mutual respect, and he modeled through example, building trust and giving faith, and allowed them the autonomy to decide to continue to walk with him. And then even when they made mistakes, it was, I'm gonna respect the fact that you have free will. And I think a lot of times what happens is, when we're talking about the traditional mind, it isn't modeled after how Jesus led his disciples. It's always after whatever decision I make as the husband, it's your role to follow because God put me in that position. But if you look at what Jesus modeled, he didn't model the same thing that men are trying to say that that's what women should be doing.
Dwayne, let's get it.
What does it look like for a man to be traditional or controlling? Traditional, a traditional man. I think about whenever it was way back where we're hunting and surviving, okay? And I want to see what that looked like as a male and a female partnership out in the wild, because I think society has provided a particular set of comfort, such as AC, a building, and all this, and we don't have too much wild things chasing after us. So I'm going way back, way, way back. She'd be like, you know what? I'm out. I'm out. She wouldn't last. I'm saying it. She wouldn't last because it's not just other people out there that is a threat. It's also now animals, anything that's out there back then. So fast forward into now, if they have the ability to have their own money and have their own things, guess what? It's much easier to be, I'm out. So from a survival standpoint, it's now that having their own things. So for the traditional man, the way I look at it is, he is going to operate from a biblical mindset of taking care of his responsibility his role, the hierarchy in which God sets for him to maintain and handle those things, which means his authority is God, which means he has to adhere to particular truths, or no, the truth associated with what the word of God says is. So controlling, you don't care about what is true. You care about what you think and what you believe. So whenever you're in a relationship with a traditional man, he desires to hear your input because he knows it is a team effort. And from a controlling standpoint, is what I say goes, irregardless of being truthful or not. So I'll go with that.
Can I add
Yes.
just one more thing? I promise it's short because I had came across something that said that with Jesus, it was he was in control of his mission and purpose, not controlling the disciples. So whether disciples follow him or not, he was still in control of the mission and purpose of what he was there to do. And I think that's the same thing as a husband, is not saying you should choose a wife that is in sync or in alignment with your mission and purpose, of course. But at the end of the day, it's about what your mission and what your purpose is. So whether or not your wife is always in agreement or not, that's where that focus needs to be. It's not about trying to force her or control her or coerce her into being in that direction. You just need to keep your focus on what that mission and purpose that God has set, and let things happen as they may, and continue to be the example and model love even when. That
That's
was
what's
it.
up. I really like how y'all only took 1 minute. That's my sarcasm, by the way. I'm going to stay on, and I want to say I really appreciate you all giving me the time to provide, commentary on this particular subject matter. It's been really good. I've learned um, many things from this particular talk, but you all are free to go. I'm gonna stay on. I can drop y'all. Y'all have a good one. Until next time, we out here. Deuces. Hey man, this was a phenomenal episode 210, and we doing our thing over here at Humble Dad Podcast. We're growing. We're ministering to people. We're encouraging people. We are also beneficiaries of my. I know for me, I'm a beneficiary of when these people come on and they give their particular viewpoint of what it looks like to be in a relationship or marriage, or if they are in one or not, they're able to give a disposition that is helpful to anyone that decides to take their advice. Do we disagree at times? Yes. However, we have a common goal. And as one my mentor says he always talks about me being his Iron Man. I tell him the same. It's because iron sharpens iron. So even when we are in disagreement, the whole premise is for us to be to become better. And to the premise of what's going on in today's episode, we are trying to provide you avenue of what do men want, traditional women, or do they want to control women? And I want to say men of the Bible want to be traditional men. They want to be in control of the mission, but they do not want to be controlling of their wives. They are individuals that have a plan. They know their purpose. They have an outline, or somewhat of an outline, of how they're going to get to the destination. And they want a woman that will come alongside them and help them get to that particular mission and not be a hindrance. Yes, you can be that individual that sharpens me by asking me questions, by providing things for me. Like, as you can see, I have a green screen that I'll be learning. This is one of the gifts that my wife got me for Valentine's Day, because she sees the mission in which that I am trying to that I'm on as it relates to building this platform. She also paid for me to go to a class so that I can learn more about this podcasting thing. She also encourages me to make sure that that I'm on every Monday. That she knows this is where I'm going to be. She doesn't make uh, any situation difficult for me to be here, and I love that about her, and I appreciate that about her. And then even when we have conversations about some of the topics, it allows me to even get better at communicating with you all. So, things are working well and going well here. Please make sure you like, you share, you comment. One of three of those, or all three of those, and leave a comment here. You can leave a comment when you go to the other people's post and podcast, and just celebrate them um, by helping them build their platforms as well. And so, to those men and women that are looking to be a part of a podcast or a ministry that is about building people in a way that they are prepared to be husband and wives, you found your place. Until next time, we out here. Deuces.
The boy is dangerous.
Bad feeling about this.
You don't seem to understand something.
The thing that I like most about being a dad is that I see that I'm about to impact the world.